Hey y'all, I'm Byron.
And I'm Margaret, and we'd like to welcome you back to the Beyond I Do podcast, where we discuss how we've successfully navigated the past 25 years of marriage. Before we get started, we do want to make this disclaimer. We are not marriage counselors, nor are we mental health professionals. We are simply sharing with you what has worked in our marriage. So let's get on to the show.
According to the website legaljobs.io, the divorce rate in U.S. is actually falling. Unfortunately, so is the rate of people getting married. In this episode, we'll be talking about what we've learned about creating a successful, long-term relationship or marriage.
So we'll be starting out with how we formed our ideas about relationships and marriage. Of course, as a child growing up, if your parents are together and married, they're your first role model as couples. I had both of my grandparents, my maternal grandparents were divorced, my paternal grandparents were married, so I had those role models as well. I do remember when I was in 4th grade, I spent the night with a friend for the first time. That was my first time spending the night away from home with someone other than family, and she had a birthday party. And I remember the interactions with her parents and how odd it was because you could tell they actually liked each other. Mm. My parents, they had they had different likes and dislikes and things, and there wasn't that type of interaction. So that was different for me. As I got older, moved into teenage years and young adult years, my role models for what I wanted as far as a relationship were more so from what I saw on TV and in movies. And at one point, I was focused on having a relationship and a friend group, like the movies, Brown Sugar, Love Jones, those types of movies. And I was going to have this career and meet this person with a career, and we were going to do married career couple things and hang with our married career couple friends, and well, it didn't happen that way. So what about you?
Well, let's see. I grew up in a household with my mom and my dad. Like I said, I'm the youngest of 10. So I saw my mother and father pretty much relate to one another. I was around them as a couple a lot, going to like family gatherings, dinners, and I never saw my dad disrespect my mom in any kind of way. Now they had their differences, they had their disagreements, but he never called her any type of a bad name or anything like that I can recall. And they just, they had a good relationship. My grandparents, my mother's father was alive when I remember him going to his house, but he was married to my mom's stepmother. So they had a good relationship. We would go over their house and they cooked dinner. We'd probably visit them at least every other week or something like that. And I just remember, Grandpa just being a jolly fella, always had the candy, and their relationship was pretty decent. My father's parents, those are the ones that I spent probably most of the time with. Remember my grandmother, she actually used to keep me when I was younger, my father's mother. And my father's dad, which we used to call him Pop, And Pop was like, that was the man. I saw him like, do everything. The reason why I'm so handy now is because Pop used to come over there and, spray the house. He used to do our plumbing sometimes. He would do little odd jobs, and every time he come over there, I would be around Pop, so I'd be sitting there handing him tools and things like that. So, that was my man, and, he treated my grandmother with great respect. Like I said, I never saw them argue or anything. For the most part, now I have witnessed some difficult discussions where I kind of felt like, hey, they talking about something real, but I never seen him call her any type of bad name or anything like that. And I just knew that, growing up, knew that I was supposed to be married and I was going to have a family, and was supposed to have the career going. The successful career, and had my car and my house all together, and then I was just gonna meet this successful young lady, and we just gonna do it on up. But
and if you listen to episode 1, you already know that's not how it happened.
Yeah, it didn't happen like that at all.
We talked about what we feel like were the biggest things that have contributed to our success as far as our marriage.
Mm-hmm.
The first one is communication, and open, honest, sometimes difficult communication. We mentioned in a previous episode that finances is still one of those areas that we have a difficult time talking about because of the internalized feelings or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
There are also there are just things that are difficult to discuss with your partner. If there's an issue where you feel like you suspect your partner may be doing something he or she may not, it's difficult to approach someone with that. Yes. But it's just important to be honest and open and understand that if you just kind of sit on those things and let those things build up, nothing good comes of that.
Mm-hmm. It took me a good bit of time to express myself, and I think that being the youngest of 10, I was always kind of, not necessarily say pushed to the side, but I knew my place, so to speak. So it was kind of like, well, let me just shut up. And my older siblings, of course, they would have all the different issues going on, and I would watch them. So I guess because I was always kind of like in the background, I figured that was the best way to be. So bring myself into a committed marriage, and remember when we used to talk and I used to be quiet the whole time. And I'd be trying to think of what I was going to say, think of how I was going to say it, but I just could never get it together.
I think that, too, you don't want to hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
For me, I am one who will pause and stop and think to process what I'm saying before I say it. So sometimes it seems like I have stopped or I'm done speaking when in fact I'm just trying to think through my words to make sure that what I say matches what my thinking is. So we've had to learn how to understand each other's style of communication and not take it personal or not think that there's something wrong, just understanding that we communicate differently.
Yeah. And I think the key is definitely expressing yourself to say, hey, I'm a little confused right now as to what we're discussing. So can you bring me up to speed or something like that?
and not taking it personal.
Yeah, not
and
taking
we
it personal.
still, I think we both still struggle with that sometimes.
Yeah.
Because you automatically feel like you're being attacked when somebody disagrees with you. So it's hard sometimes to step back and not take it and internalize it that way.
Yeah.
Both of us also write, and sometimes we've had to write things out as a way to be able to communicate.
Yeah,
so that's one thing that both of us have had to do in the past.
Yeah, I have had to just like write a letter, because sometimes it's just hard to vocally get it out, because I'm ADHD. My mind just goes. It just goes. So when you would be talking, I'd just be thinking of what I'm gonna come back with. Then you throw another question in there. Then I'd be thinking, okay, now what did she say the last time? Then you'd be like, all right, so what you got to say about that? And I'm sitting up there thinking to myself, dang, I ain't even got the first question down. So it was just a struggle for me. So I had to learn, okay. But then I got it eventually. I'm doing a whole lot better.
Well, we'll get into this more in another episode. We have different styles of learning and communicating. Yes. So for me, I tend to process things coming in quicker. It just takes me more time to make sure that when I say something, what's coming out is what I want to say. Whereas with him, he takes more time to process, and sometimes I get frustrated with that, or I get impatient.
Yep.
Or I read into it and think that it's something that it's not. So if I ask him something and he has not answered in a timely manner, then I may think, oh, he's trying to figure out how to tell me no, or did he get upset with that? But in time, we've learned that that's just the differences in how we communicate.
Yeah,
and definitely. The way to get to that point is through communication.
Yep.
So we had to talk, and I had to tell him, look, this is not what this means. When I'm doing this, it's because of this. And that clears up those things. So that's our first point. Communication is everything.
Yep. Now, point number 2 is do what works for your relationship. Now, that means let go of traditions that do not serve you. Put each other first, and be careful who you take advice from. Now, as far as the traditions, now, we all have our ideas about how, a marriage or a relationship should be like. You probably, like we said, we shared in the beginning about our parents and the things that we saw. Friends, family. So you have this idea. You go into it with this idea of how things should be. And
or how you don't want things to be.
Yeah, or how you don't want things to be.
my parents got married when I was 6, and they were divorced when I was 16. So I had a clear snapshot of what I did not want in my marriage.
Yeah. And so, I've heard men say, well, you need to learn how to cook like my mama.
Well, we talked about gender roles and things like that.
Gender roles,
The idea that you're set in certain things or certain jobs belong to one or the other. And that's just that doesn't work for everyone.
And you just learn how to work things out for yourself. That's the best way. And now, the put each other first, I mean, that's just, when you're together, especially in a marriage, I had to learn that my wife comes before even my mother. That's, because I had to learn that over time, because you respect your parents, but, when you get married, that relationship is the most important relationship because you are bonding to become together as one. So, you can't be going and telling your family every dang thing that y'all get into it about. Y'all have a discussion. I'm going to the family, telling mom and daddy well, he said that he don't like this and he don't like that. Now, mom and dad are upset. And guess what? You done went home and made up with old boy. And now, mom and dad are still mad. Y'all all right. Y'all love it ever. So next time he at the house, guess who side-eyeing your husband? They side-eyeing your husband because you told them what this joker did. And that's what they gonna do. So, you just got to be careful about that, man. Same for the guys. Don't be going and telling your mama, your daddy, everything y'all get into it about, and your mama gonna be side-eyeing her the next family function. Just kind of try to keep, most of the things in the house. And third,
one more thing with the put each other first.
Yeah.
One thing that we've had to understand, and for me, it was because of how I grew up, we put each other first even when it comes to parenting. So we determined early on that it's going to be me and you, and the kids will come to a point where they will go off on their own. Yeah. So we always made time for each other. We did family vacations. We took the kids to things. We did those things, but we also made time for each other. Yes. So sometimes the kids had to go to the babysitter or with Nana instead of coming with us so that we could have that time to connect.
Yeah, and we made sure to do a lot of that because, that's the most important relationship is us, We had to focus on us. So that means, a little weekend trip, just go somewhere to get out of town, to get away from home. We did those things. But now the third point I want to bring out is, be careful who you take advice from. Now this goes for both men and women. I use this analogy. Don't take your Mercedes to a Kia dealership or a Hyundai dealership. You take your Mercedes to the Mercedes dealership. They got all the proper tools, know how to work on your stuff. Now, don't be getting advice from your single friends or people who don't have ideal marriages. That's just, even if, just be real. You can look at your mom and daddy relationship and might really see how it is, and you might want to be like, okay, maybe I might want to find some other sources. And just being real, they may have a good relationship, they may not. But, you don't want to follow the wrong advice. Single friends who ain't never been married, they ain't the one that you want to be talking to about your marriage issues. Because they going to explain stuff to you from a single standpoint. And that's what they going to do. That's just the real of it.
You also have to be mindful, though, because there are some people who are married and very unhappy.
That too.
And their advice might be a little tainted with their own situation. So
that too.
We've had couples come in at the right time when we need those types of role models and whatnot. So we've been grateful for that, but we also just doing what works for us has been one of the biggest ways that we have found to make sure that we are intact.
Yes, most definitely.
And our final piece of advice, and this one I think all three of these are equally as big for us, but our final piece of advice is like is so much more important than love.
Amen.
There are people who I love dearly, but that doesn't mean I want to wake up next to them every day.
Yep.
That takes like. And we often tell each other, instead of I love you, we'll look at each other and say, I like you.
Yeah, exactly.
We spend time together. We genuinely enjoy spending time together. We're friends. Mm-hmm. We talk, we laugh, we watch TV. We have shared projects together, such as this one. This is our newest one.
Yep.
But we have projects around the house that we've completed. Another thing is we also take time to encourage each other with our individual interest.
Yes.
And support each other with those.
Mm-hmm.
So he is a motorcycle fanatic, and I am not. But I will ride with him because that's our time to bond and do something that he enjoys. And on the flip side of that, every now and then I get a hankering to go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's and feel the yarn and then buy a lot of it. And he comes along and supports that.
I get to hold the basket, y'all.
I made you some hats. So we take time to be a part of each other's hobbies that aren't necessarily interest of ours specifically, but just to show that I care, I respect you, and I love you enough that I want to be a part of this too.
Yeah, that's definitely key. So I mean, look, these are just some of the things that we've learned and we've been able to, adapt to us. It has worked for us.
And I don't recall anyone telling us, especially the last one, that is so important.
Yeah,
I don't
never
think
heard
anyone has told us that you hear about love and unconditional love, but you don't hear that you really need to like the person that you plan on spending rest of your life with. You want someone who you will enjoy going and vacationing or shopping, what have you. You go to the movie. You want someone who you're going to enjoy being with. You want someone who understands that we may have different interests, but I respect you and I'm going to honor you by going to see this movie that you want to see, but I really didn't want to, but I want to spend that time with you.
Yep.
So that's just that's one thing that I don't think we heard a lot of, but we realized early on. I also think because we were friends first.
Yeah.
I know everyone doesn't have that opportunity, but we were friends first, and through that friendship, it was the same. We would see each other. We were always talking and laughing. We had a respect for each other as far as likes, dislikes, and things of that nature. So I think that helped, and we just kind of carried that into our relationship.
Yeah, and it definitely helps having some of the same interest. That goes a long way, so that when we are spending time with each other, we can talk about things like the cars. We both like cars. We're both into true crime, so we can sit and watch Dateline all day Saturday, if I'm off or whatever, or we can watch, Investigative Discovery, and just enjoy it, because, realize how crazy some of these folks are out here, but,
And at the end of the episodes, we're looking at each other and promising not to kill each other.
I told her, I said, look, I just, if you ever feel like you want to kill me, tell me, look, I feel like killing you. And I just leave, I just go. I leave everything. That's all you got to do. I don't want to be murked for, my little $50,000 insurance policy. And be buried some doggone where. That ain't how I see myself leaving this earth.
Anyway. So we have some shared interests. We both love music. We love comedy. So we have shared interests. But like I said, we also have interests that we don't necessarily share. But if it means that I get to spend time with you, then I'll go on I'll ride on the motorcycle. Or if you're working on a car, I'll sit there and talk. And sometimes I do help, even if it's just to kind of talk things through and brainstorm things. So
you sure have helped me quite a few times with that. So I mean, the main thing is just figuring out what you guys can accomplish together and continuing to have a foundation, a relationship that will last way beyond the kids being out of the house.
Exactly.
You know, because the last thing you want to do is get 20, 24, 30 years in, and all of a sudden
kids are gone, and
you talking about, I can't stand this joke.
well, and also with kids, it's beneficial for the kids to see that their parents like each other.
Yes, definitely.
Our kids know, and now, I mean, they're adults, but we have a good time sitting around talking and laughing with them also. But they know that if our kids, I think they have seen us like disagree maybe once or twice. And I mean disagree, like one of us may snap at the other and their faces, you know, they look like we've hit each other. But it's important for them to understand what a loving, amicable relationship looks like.
Yes.
So,
and even if y'all get silly with each other and tickle each other, it's good for them to see that, because they see that, you know, we get a lot of our ways from our parents. I mean, that's the first source you get.
Or not.
And if you get, you know, or aunt or uncle, you know, so it's like you get those visions as a kid, and you know that does help determine, you know, the kind of relationships you may end up with in the future. So I mean, help your kids out, y'all.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the Let's Discuss It segment. This week, our Let's Discuss It topic comes from a post that Byron saw in the Shade Room. In the post, a woman texts her fiance. She says she really wants to see Beyonce. She says, you don't have to get me a Valentine's gift or a birthday gift. I just really want to see Beyonce in concert.
He tells her they agreed to not spend on entertainment because they've been saving for the past 10 months to buy a house. She begs him to say it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing. He reminds her that they made a commitment to save for the house. The tickets start at $600. He tells her that they can have fun once they buy the house. Tells her to stay focused, babe. You like that, don't you?
I don't like that at all. But anyways, she says, so then she says, are you telling me no? And he kind of doubles down. He's like, no, we can, you know, later for that, we're saving. And all of a sudden she remembers, wait, some of that money is mine.
Yep.
So she says, I know at least $1,000 is mine. I want my money. I'll pay it back later.
And he asks, are you serious, babe? You only contributed $710. He got real specific on that $710. That just took me over the top. She wants her money, so I will draw today. You can pick it up, and the engagement is off. Well, yeah, they were engaged. That's why they were saving up for a house. And he says he needs a break.
So her response, I just can't believe you breaking up with me because I want my money. And if you want to see us reenact this, make sure to check out our YouTube channel where we do discuss this a little further, and we reenact it for you. But I think that especially now, like the more we read it, I kind of hope they didn't get back together.
Yeah.
Because I don't think that they're good for each other. His little remarks and stay focused, babe, and it's so patronizing. And then she's already letting him know that she's not good with money. Because if in 10 months her amount saved is only $710, but she seems to think at least $1,000 belong to her.
Yeah.
I hope that they have taken that break and thought about it and kind of regrouped, because they sounded like they had some other stuff.
Yeah, they had stuff going on. Because for him to know exactly how much she put in, like $710, like you could have said you put in less than $700,
or about $700,
around $700. But nah, he said $710. Now, if he'd have said $710.32, he would have been real petty. But yeah, that kind of took me out right there.
Thank you so much for joining us for episode 3 of the Beyond I Do podcast.
Please join us next time, episode 4, No Money, More Problems, where we will discuss the effects of finances or lack thereof on our marriage.
In the meantime, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. Also join us on YouTube. Like I said, you want to see us reenact this scenario, and we talk about financial responsibilities and Beyonce's home wrecking concert tickets.
Yep. And make sure when you're on YouTube, look up Beyond I Do Podcasts, because there's a lot of Beyond I Do's on there. So Beyond I Do Podcasts. And until next time, we will holler at y'all.